Welcome to the next episode of Project Zenki Redo. In this one I'm going to actually take out the rear suspension of a 240 and replace all the bushings and fix the undercoating and give it a general cleaning of grime that's been building up over 16 years. This one here, I bought this energy suspension master bushing set from Degreasing. Thankfully they've generously offered to help with the products for the car, so I'm very thankful of that. Before I start and take the wheels off and put the vehicle up on jack stands, I'm actually going to measure from the wheel well here to the tires. When I put all the bushings back together in the car in the air, it's going to be hard to tighten them down, and you want to tighten bushings under laden conditions, meaning it feels like it's on the ground. So when I put the wheel and tire back on with the vehicle on jack stands, I'm actually going to lift it to where it is to this position here before I tighten them. If I tighten them on the ground, it's really difficult to get the torque wrench in there. So I'll lift this with a jack back to this condition here that I've measured and marked on the vehicle here with tape, and then I can tighten everything down and then actually put it back on the ground, and the bushings will be set properly and they won't have any extra strain on them by tightening them in the unladen condition. So to start with, I'm actually going to put the vehicle on jack stands, get the wheels and tires off, and we'll get this thing started. Okay, now you can see that I do have the car up on jack stands here. I've got it on all four corners. Underneath the sill here, you'll actually see there's a small, like a cutout here, and this is where Nissan does recommend to jack the car up and actually support it here. It's where all the three thicknesses of metal come together. It's where it's strongest. So when you put it on jack stands, make sure you put it on all four of those corners, the front, the rear, and on the other side here. I do have the rear wheels off. Now it's just a matter of taking this all out. I'm going to take the brake off. I really don't want to break the line here unless I have to. That way I don't have to re-bleed the brakes later on. Lug nuts are back on the lug so I don't lose them during the transition. And then here it's a matter of just taking the shock out, disconnected from the upper of the body on the partial shelf in the back. And then here supporting a differential, and piece by piece just systematically taking it off. I'm going to take the subframe out as a complete assembly here. Once I take the exhaust out, disconnect the drive shaft, and then the four subframe bolts, those will actually come off. That way this will come out easily and I can work outside the car. Very simple. From here on out, just piece by piece, take your time, make sure you don't lose any bolts, make sure they go back where they're supposed to, and be safe the whole way through. Okay, just a little update here. Now as you've seen, the caliper here, the rear caliper is actually off, disconnected from the brake system. Actually the park and brake cable here that goes on the bottom and up through is actually in the back. You can see I've tied it off here just to the body so that it will stay with the body and I won't have to break the line there. Underneath the vehicle itself, you see the park brake cable there. The drive shaft is disconnected from the differential there. The differential ground is hanging loose, and I actually have taken apart the A brackets up there on the front. All that's left now, beyond the exhaust, is already taken out. All that's left is going to be the four main subframe bolts, which are going to be right here on the front, other than two on the other side, and the subframe is going to drop right out of the vehicle, and then it's on to replacing bushings. Okay, just a couple of quick last things to note here. I have braced the front of the vehicle there. Let me just kind of lean out. As you can see, I do have some blocks under the front, right on the front member there, right under the radiator. That way if I take the weight out of the subframe, it's not going to let the car lean forward too much. You can see there the subframe is almost out right now. And a couple last things. Right here, the park and brake cable is attached to the subframe on each side, so you want to take this loose. This is just a 10mm, and take these out on both sides. That way the park and brake cable is going to disconnect from the subframe. And you can see this hose here, which is your differential breather. This is connected to the body also, and this has to come off. Beyond that, everything else up to this point has roughly been a 14mm. As you can see, my coilover here is missing. And looking up through there, that is actually duct tape closed from the inside. That way when I get some spraying done, it's there. But that was a a half-inch socket to get those coilovers out from the top, when I do have the KTS coilovers there. And on the bottom down here for the shock mount is a 17mm, and the subframe nuts to hold it on here, these are 17mm. Of course, I do have a compressor with an impact wrench, so it does impact gun. It does make it a lot easier to take a lot of this off, especially on the drive shaft and that. So last couple minutes here, get these spark plug cables off and the hose, and the subframe will come out as one big unit. Alright, as you see, the subframe is out of there. You can see it sitting over the side over there. I've also started taking apart my fuel system here. So the hose down here is all taken apart piece by piece, and I haven't disconnected the fuel lines from the top of the tank now. Now it's just a matter of getting the straps from underneath, under here, get those two out, and we'll drop the fuel tank out of this thing, and then you can start getting ready to prep for cleaning. Alright, we're getting to the end of the work day today. Just kind of recap what we've done. The rear subframe has come off. Of course, the exhaust came out first. Disconnected the differential to the subframe, and then disconnected the subframe from the body and took that out. Beyond that, as you kind of look here, of course I took the brake caliper off the subframe so it would stay with the body. I didn't have to take break the fuel or the lines out. As you can kind of see through there, I do have the duct tape run across the opening into the trunk from the fuel tank, and then the fuel tank pieces are all missing here. Underneath, you can see the fuel tank's obviously gone, and all the pieces are still there. The nuts, fasteners, and everything are put back in the original place, that way I don't lose them. Currently, the only thing I have a small Ziploc bag with the brake pads from the rear calipers, and then the drive shaft bolts and the two bolts contacting the this piece here. I guess you call it the A bracket, or however you want to call it, in there to the body. So at this point, I'm going to call it a day, and when I come back next time, I'm going to start cleaning and degreasing this rear area, getting it ready for rear undercoating. Until next time, this is Project Zenki Redo. See you next time.